Welcome to TYT Sports, everybody. It's our new segment, Your Taxes, Your Money. Joining us is certified public accountant Francis Maxwell. Francis, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
I'm curious, a lot of changes in the tax code in 2014. Okay, you look nice.
Thank you.
So David Blatt fired with the 31-10, best record in the East as coach of the Cavaliers. Not the least surprising firing of a 31-10 coach in the history of the NBA, because I think everyone's got this wrong. The initial thought was, oh my God, how can you fire David Blatt? But all those people, everyone who wrote that headline and wrote those stories thought, yeah, they had to fire David Blatt.
You know, the funny thing is obviously I'm being the NBA correspondent to my family and friends back home, and they heard about it and they're like in their view, he's top of the league. Like, you know what I mean? He's top of that conference. And at first of all, I was like, well, the Eastern Conference isn't as competitive as the West, right? But they didn't understand that. They're just like, he's top of the league. Why is he being fired? And I said to them, players ultimately, I feel, hold more weight than coaches in numerous occasions. Yeah, you have the odd example of Greg Popovich and Phil Jackson and the real, I would say, characters of the game that really push the game forward. But sometimes you just have coaches who are just there. They're just there just to try and facilitate when they already have quality players. And in this example, what I said to them was, you may agree or disagree on the comment section or whatever. I said, LeBron James probably made this decision. He's bigger than that team. He's bigger than that coach.
When you read into it more, it seemed like Tyronn Lue won over the locker room, that he was there for personal consolement. And really what you need on that team is LeBron's a player coach. There's no doubt about that. He's the one basically drawing up the plays. He's running the offense when the game's on the line. And it seemed like Tyronn Lue is at least a better, and I don't mean this in any offensive way, a better babysitter than David Blatt is. So with Blatt gone, it doesn't make, you still have the same team there. You still have the same personnel.
I think, I hear what you're saying about babysitter, but I think it's so the wrong word, because
I didn't mean discredit.
No, I know you didn't mean it disrespectfully. I mean, but in this case, that, David Blatt came to that team, and we've now read this from ESPN and from Yahoo and from, significant now reports that are all echoing each other, which is that the relationship was massively fractured between Blatt and the team. And if you're 31-10, but it's like sometimes the conspiracy theories are too great about, LeBron got him fired. This is a guy who had a terrible working relationship with his staff. I don't mean the staff being the employees, the basketball players. And you got to enjoy this. So, if you're the owner, there's, you're hearing regularly how much everybody hates everybody else. And so you make a change. I don't think it's that conspiratorial. I don't think it's that big a deal. David Blatt, and to get back to the babysitting point, David Blatt was come in to be a babysitter in the sense that this was a young team. Again, no disrespect, but it was a young team. And all of a sudden, bang, LeBron comes back after they'd hired Blatt. David Blatt would never have been hired if that coaching vacancy had been open at the time LeBron came back. And then more than LeBron, we bring in Kevin Love following LeBron, and then add these veteran pieces. Then in comes J.R. Smith, right? In comes Mozgov, not quite the same kind of veteran presence, but Shumpert, right?
Who's the youth again.
All of a sudden, there are veteran pieces added to a young team as opposed to a team that was going to be built around Kyrie Irving and Andrew Wiggins, who obviously went in the Love trade. So it was a different kind of team. They should have fired him right away.
Just like the next week.
I would have fired him right away.
Here,
I always believed this, and never let your coach get out of trouble if you're sure he's the wrong coach. Never let him get out of trouble where you then look like the guy who just fired a coach. I certainly would have fired him last year. You pay him and you go, hey, you did a great job, but you don't have to say it's like we have a different kind of team and we want a different kind of coach. What surprises me is that Lue got this job. I read that he'd been fired. Before I read that they instantly named Lue that, I thought, okay, well, Tom Thibodeau. Yeah. Let's go. Let's get a coach.
Yeah, let's go out and get a coach who will drive that team into the ground and never win a championship. Can't stand Tibbs.
But and the thing is,
well, Tibbs is a great coach, so I think you're wrong about that.
I think he is a great coach. You don't win a championship with a guy that can drive your team into the ground.
How do we know whether this guy was a dominant coach? He never had Derrick Rose in the playoffs. It's a little hard to.
Well, he was a great. Was not an assistant coach for the Boston Celtics, where he was great there too.
Yeah, so I'm just saying with Thibodeau, then fine, not Thibodeau. But the fact is,
so I don't mean to jump on you on that one.
But the fact, you could say, I mean, there are coaches who wear out their welcome. So you say Thibodeau this year and all of next year, and then we're probably going to fire you too. But we know you can win. I just meant a grown-up, experienced, seasoned NFL.
I get what you mean by so an NFL coach. Well, I was going to ask Francis because in terms of looking at it from a different perspective, like. What do you think of LeBron when he first went to Miami? Because that's when you were here for a little bit. Speaking in America,
that was my first.
And you saw like this power trio come together, and you kind of already had a little bit of a liking for Dwayne Wade in Miami. You saw a basketball game there, and you saw the atmosphere. And then he goes back, and now he gets his coach fired. Essentially, that again, as Ben says, isn't surprising. Do you see him as a villain, or do you see him as a hero, or where do you judge him?
I see flaws in the sport where players will have more weight over coaches. That's all I've seen, and it's maybe not even a flaw. It's just the way this game works. Like players, ultimately, when it goes to a team. Like when you have a player of LeBron James' stature, he's always going to hold more weight than the coach, and it does happen.
People pay $150 a ticket. No, in the history of the world,
no one's going to
get ticket. Oh man, you going to see Blatt tonight?
I'm telling you, in the world of football, it happens. People will go and see Jose Mourinho's team. They will see the players, but they'll go and see his team.
Right.
But what I'm saying is that I wanted to ask you guys a question to turn it around. Will the mainstream media paint this as LeBron James getting his coach fired? Because we know, as we just talked about, that Spo was probably a whisper away from being fired in Miami. He was there, not considered to be doing as stand-up a job as he had to do with those big three there. So I'm thinking to myself, this coach has now been fired. Is it a trait that when LeBron James goes to a certain team and he probably wants more control than anything else, does it come down to him?
Spoelstra weathered the storm of that bad start in Miami, which surprised me, and to Pat Riley's credit, he hung with him. Does management in Cleveland know that the players are upset and don't like the coach? Of course, you could see it. You could see LeBron mouthing it. Also, you read that story. Players on other teams were hearing how the Cavaliers were ripping Blatt publicly. A player who, one Cavalier player used the visiting whirlpool. And so he was in the other team's locker room using the whirlpool. And he's ripping Blatt, not just himself. He's telling how everybody hates Blatt. They can hear it on the other side. Yeah. And so the rest of the league knows, and the rest of the league was seeing plays called in the thing, and LeBron come out and go, we're not running that play. Yeah, and the other players are like, so let me just finish. So that's different than what happened with Spoelstra. That never, as far as we know, happened. And this has now been reported 3 different times. So I don't know that LeBron got him fired. I mean, LeBron got him fired by doing that, right? But I don't know that LeBron said, it's time to fire David Blatt. There's no evidence of that. And so portraying it that way seems dishonest.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just wanted to say that even if it does come out and that is the case, do you think this is actually going to affect LeBron James or anyone else's view on LeBron James? Because at this point, LeBron James does not care. He's not moving from a championship-winning team to Miami back home to Cleveland to have anything else stand in his way.
I agree.
He was so close to winning a championship by himself, with no Kyrie Irving, with no Kevin Love. So if he sees that there's going to be...
With no coach.
With no coach. Exactly, and that's where you'd want your coach to step up. That's where your coach's job, I guess, is to be able to have a plan B, to be able to run different plays that can help and adjust when you don't have those. If that was Greg Popovich in charge of the Cavaliers, I believe they win that championship with those players injured. Because he's able to run a different system.
Well, they weren't winning last year, I don't think. But Tyronn Lue was already handling timeouts. I mean, it's a crazy system there.
That's important to note, though, Ben, because, like, again, according to Yahoo Sports, this is like the article, they were the one that really broke it down in depth. They mentioned hundreds of times that it wasn't just LeBron who would go to Tyronn Lue with how he felt about certain things during
every
games.
veteran.
It wasn't every veteran. It was the younger guys.
Yeah, well,
it was Shump. It was Kyrie, and Kyrie obviously was there with Lue beforehand, and Tyronn Lue got a 3-year deal. This isn't an interim coach.
Tyronn Lue had the worst hair of any NBA player ever. I can't believe that guy is a grown-up position.
He's a good coach. He could be a good coach.
He may be a great coach. I hope so. And LeBron, as I think Francis made the most salient point, hey, has to happen eventually,
it's
right?
One time and a few.
No, but like LeBron, go ahead, hate me. I don't think our best chance is to win with this guy. And this window is small. Those teams in the West, those 2 teams in the West are phenomenal. Yeah, Whichever one you get in the finals, good luck. But you are LeBron James, so you got a chance.
We saw that last year.
So get the right coach, because if LeBron is spending that much mental energy worrying about, no, he's calling the wrong play, that's not what he should be doing.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, he is a coach on the floor, and that guy knows as much about basketball as anybody on the planet ever, right? But he shouldn't be worried about what play's being called.
That's what I was meaning.
And that's a mistake. And that's a change that literally, it had to be made. I feel bad for David Blatt, but he's got to go. And LeBron is a villain. There's not one person in the country who gives a shit about David Blatt. I mean, nobody. He is the least. I mean, I think there are hockey coaches in Florida who are more famous than David Blatt. And that's hard to do.
There is US
They play
men's-
hockey. There are a couple of hockey teams in Florida, aren't
Yeah,
there?
there's U.S.
the
men's soccer
Florida
players that are more famous
Panthers.
than him.
There's
Florida.
the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Hockey in Florida.
There's
Come
hockey in
on.
Florida, man. It's
on.
there. There's baseball in Canada.
All right, well, let us know what you guys think. Comment section below. Did this manager deserve to be sacked? Is LeBron James a villain? All the good stuff. Hit us up on Twitter.
Manager.
Had to
Deserve
say
to be
sacked.
sacked.
There it was.
Manager and
Thrown
sacked
in the
same
Europeans.
sentence. Jesus. Trump is right. Go home.
I'm tired.